The rain came down in sheets that night, turning the parking lot into a mirror of broken streetlights and neon signs. Sarah Chen sat in her idling Honda Civic, hands trembling on the steering wheel, staring at the eviction notice crumpled in her passenger seat. 3 days. She had 3 days to come up with 2 months. Rent, or she and her daughter would be on the street. The chemotherapy bills had eaten through everything. Her savings, her credit, her pride. And now, sitting outside the grocery store where she'd worked doubles for the past 6 months, she couldn't even afford the insulin her daughter needed. She didn't cry. She was past crying. Instead, she got out of the car, pulled her thin jacket tight against the November cold, and walked into the fluorescent brightness of the store. Her shift started in 10 minutes, and Mrs. Patterson, the night manager, didn't tolerate lateness. Sarah had learned to keep moving, to push through the exhaustion and the fear, because stopping meant thinking, and thinking meant drowning. The store was nearly empty at this hour, just the usual collection of night owls and insomniacs wandering the aisles. Sarah clocked in, tied on her apron, and took her position at register 4. Her feet already ached, a dull throb that would sharpen into agony by hour 3. She watched a young mother struggle through the automatic doors, baby on her hip, toddler clinging to her leg, both kids crying. The woman's eyes had that glazed look Sarah knew too well, the 1,000-yard stare of someone running on empty. "Register 4, please," Sarah called out, her voice automatically cheerful despite the weight in her chest. The woman approached, unloading diapers, formula, peanut butter, bread. The basics. The essentials. The things you buy when you're counting every penny. Sarah scanned each item with practiced efficiency, watching the total climb. $42, $61, $78. The woman's hand shook slightly as she pulled out her wallet, and Sarah saw her counting bills, her lips moving silently. Then the woman's face crumpled. "I'm so sorry," she whispered, tears spilling over. "I thought I had enough. Can you take off the formula? And maybe the diapers? I can make what I have at home stretch another day or 2. Sarah's throat tightened. She knew that calculation, that desperate math of poverty. Before she could think, before she could stop herself, she was reaching into her own pocket, pulling out the $40 bill she'd been saving for her daughter's insulin. "The formula's on sale," Sarah lied smoothly, her fingers flying over the register keys. "Manager's special. And we're actually doing a program tonight, Random Acts of Kindness Week. You're our lucky customer. Everything's covered." The woman stared at her, disbelieving. "What? No, I can't." "It's already done," Sarah said, bagging the items quickly, including everything the woman had tried to sacrifice. "You take care of those beautiful babies." The woman left in tears, clutching her groceries like they were made of gold, calling back thank yous that echoed through the empty store. Sarah stood at her register, $40 poorer, her daughter's insulin now completely out of reach, and felt something she hadn't felt in months. A tiny spark of warmth in the frozen landscape of her life. Mrs. Patterson appeared at her elbow 20 minutes later. "Sarah, my office, now." Sarah's heart dropped. Someone must have seen. She was going to lose her job. She followed Mrs. Patterson through the swinging doors, past the break room, into the small cluttered office that smelled of stale coffee and desperation. She stood with her head down, waiting for the axe to fall. "That woman you just helped," Mrs. Patterson said, her voice unreadable. "I saw what you did." "I'm sorry," Sarah began. "I'll pay back." "Her husband left her last week," Mrs. Patterson interrupted. "Took everything. Cleaned out their account. She's staying in a shelter with those 2 kids." The older woman paused, studying Sarah's face. "You paid for her groceries out of your own pocket, didn't you?" Sarah nodded, unable to speak. Mrs. Patterson opened her desk drawer and pulled out an envelope. "This came for you today, from corporate. I wasn't supposed to give it to you until your shift ended, but I think you need it now." Sarah opened the envelope with shaking hands. Inside was a letter and a check. Her eyes couldn't focus on the words at first, couldn't make sense of what she was seeing. "Employee of the Year, $5,000 bonus. Recognition for outstanding service and dedication." The room spun. $5,000. It was everything. It was her daughter's insulin and their rent and the electric bill and groceries and maybe, just maybe, a little bit of breathing room. "I don't understand," she whispered. "I'm just a cashier. I'm just..." You're the person who stays late when we're short-staffed, Mrs. Patterson said quietly. Who covers other people's shifts. Who treats every customer like they matter. Corporate reviews the security footage, Sarah. They see everything. They saw you give your lunch to that homeless veteran last month. They saw you spend your break helping that elderly man figure out his prescription. They saw who you are. Sarah sat down hard in the plastic chair, the check clutched in her hand. And finally, she let herself cry. But the story doesn't end there, because kindness never really ends. It ripples. 2 weeks later, Sarah was at her register when a woman approached, professional, put together, with kind eyes and a determined set to her jaw. Are you Sarah Chen? Sarah tensed, her old instincts kicking in. Yes? I'm Amanda Brooks. I'm the woman you helped that night, with the formula and diapers. She set down a small business card. I'm a family lawyer. I've been trying to find you. I don't need a lawyer, Sarah said quickly. I can't afford... I know what you're going through, Amanda interrupted gently. After my husband left, I did some digging. Found out you're a single mother, dealing with medical bills, facing eviction. She smiled at Sarah's shocked expression. Small town. People talk. And when someone helps you at your lowest point, you don't forget. You don't let it go. Amanda explained that she'd started making calls, reaching out to her network. A friend who ran a non-profit that helped families with medical debt. Another who worked with a housing assistance program. A colleague who knew about a scholarship fund for children of single parents. You gave me $40 in dignity when I had neither, Amanda said, her voice thick with emotion. Let me give you something back. Let me help you the way you helped me. Sarah wanted to refuse. She'd been taught to be self-sufficient, to never accept charity. But looking into Amanda's eyes, she understood something profound. Letting someone help you is its own kind of gift. It's giving them the chance to be human, to be kind, to be part of something bigger than themselves. Over the next months, Sarah watched her life transform. Not because of one big miracle, but because of 100 small ones. Amanda helped her navigate the medical debt relief program, reducing her bills by 70%. The housing nonprofit worked with her landlord to create a payment plan. The scholarship fund covered her daughter's after-school program and tutoring. Mrs. Patterson promoted her to assistant, manager with a raise and better hours. But more than that, Sarah found herself part of a community. Amanda introduced her to other women who'd been through hard times, survivors who'd rebuilt their lives and wanted to help others do the same. They met once a month, sharing meals and stories and resources. They celebrated victories and mourned setbacks. They held each other up. A year after that rainy November night, Sarah stood in the grocery store's community room, watching Amanda cut the ribbon on a new initiative. Title Her, a program dedicated to recognizing and supporting women who exemplified strength, kindness, and resilience. Women who, despite facing their own battles, still found ways to lift others up. We're calling it Title Her because every woman deserves recognition, Amanda explained to the small crowd gathered. Not just mothers, not just wives, not just someone's daughter or sister. Her, the woman herself. The person who keeps showing up, who keeps caring, who keeps fighting. Sarah Chen is our first honoree. Sarah accepted the plaque with trembling hands, looking out at the faces before her. The young mother she'd helped that night. Now working and thriving. Mrs. Patterson beaming with pride. Her daughter healthy and happy. Women she'd met through the support group, each with their own stories of survival and kindness. I'm not special, Sarah said, her voice barely above a whisper. I just did what anyone would do. That's exactly what makes you special, Amanda replied. You think everyone would do it, so you do it without hesitation. You give when you have nothing. You help when you're drowning. You see people, really see them in a world that teaches us to look away. Sarah looked down at the plaque in her hands, at the words etched in silver, for embodying the power of humanity through acts of selfless kindness. And she thought about that night, about the choice she'd made to give away her last $40. She'd thought it was an ending, the final chapter of her ability to help, to matter, to make a difference. Instead, it had been a beginning. Because that's how kindness works. It doesn't deplete, it multiplies. Every act of compassion sends out ripples that touch lives you'll never see, that create chains of caring that stretch farther than you can imagine. You can't always choose your circumstances, but you can choose how you move through them. You can choose to be the light in someone's darkness, even when your own light is flickering. Title her, Sarah thought, feeling the weight and wonder of those two words. Not for what she did or what she accomplished, but for who she was in the quiet moments when no one was watching. For the humanity she protected, inside herself even when the world seemed determined to crush it. That night, as Sarah drove home with her daughter chattering happily in the back seat, she passed the grocery store and saw a young man helping an elderly woman load groceries into her car. She saw a teenager holding the door for a mother with a stroller. She saw small acts of kindness playing out under the fluorescent lights, and she wondered, had these always been here? Or was she just finally able to see them? Maybe both. Maybe the world is full of quiet heroes, and maybe we become them simply by choosing, again and again, to be kind, to help, to care, to see another person's humanity and honor it with our own. Title her, Sarah thought. Title all of them. Every person who chooses love over indifference, connection over isolation, generosity over fear. Those are the real heroes. Those are the ones who change the world, one small act of kindness at a time.